Johnny McGonigal, we saw one heck of a offensive show.
You're taking a load off. That game took a toll.
One heck of a offensive show in the
Yeah.
Big Ten title game.
Yeah.
Two good defenses. I thought maybe the defenses might have a bigger impact here at Lucas Oil Stadium tonight. And then really Penn State needed their defense maybe. But so did Oregon to make some plays. But the night was just really dominated by both offenses. Oregon made fewer mistakes. And Penn State played really well, but they just couldn't get out of the way of a couple key ones.
Yeah, talking to Dom DeLuca, Penn State linebacker, after the game, he said point blank, first thing that came out of his mouth, he said, we beat ourselves.
Yeah.
The personal foul penalties in the first half, 2 turnovers on offense. The first interception Drew Aller threw was one of the worst throws I've seen him make, fully behind the target and Khalil Dinkins. And then the interception to end the game. I mean, there were some officiating things that went perhaps against Penn State's direction. James Franklin had mentioned that in his post-game press conference, something that we'll be taking a look at when we rewatch the game. But ultimately what this came down to was Penn State made mistakes in a game that ended, separated by 8 points against the number 1 team in the country. And that's why they lost.
Yeah, I mean, 11 touchdowns, almost 1,000 yards of offense. Oregon started super fast. Penn State did not start fast. Oregon had the quarterback that played better, a great trigger man. First look at him, got the ball out quick, and that receiver was incredible. He was maybe the biggest difference in the game. Penn State didn't have anyone like him. Tyler Warren played well, but Penn State's, it's been the same problem against good teams. They just have not gotten enough from their wideout room, and Tyler Warren can only do so much. The running game, I thought, played very well, so did the offensive line. But you just can't make too many mistakes against this Oregon team on a fast track.
No, you mentioned the wide receivers. I mean, we talked about it all throughout the week, and it's something that we talked about over the last 2 years, really, is the talent gap at wide receiver that compared to Penn State, and then the teams like Oregon, the teams like Ohio State. Penn State's wide receivers, guys like Harrison Wallace and Amari Evans, the list goes on, 2 catches through 3 quarters. Tez Johnson finishes with 11 catches for 181 yards.
On 12 targets.
Now I know that Harrison Wallace made some plays later, in the fourth quarter. Amari Evans had a well-designed touchdown there, so you could argue that they made an impact. But when it comes down to an offensive shootout like that, and you got one guy making plays like that Tez Johnson made, that talent gap at receiver remains and is still something that they need to solve. But the running game was the biggest positive, the biggest silver lining for this team now as it heads towards the college football playoff. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen combining for over 200 rushing yards, averaging like 8-9 yards a pop. That looked like the old Nick Singleton, the old explosive Nick Singleton that we were so used to seeing, in 2022 and parts of last year.
Yeah, there were a lot of positives I think Penn State can take out of this game, but I think the realization though is that how far you go in the college playoff. You have to minimize your mistakes and you have to start faster. You can't take dumb penalties. And Penn State just did that. It really cost them. And I just wanted to say, to me, I don't know about you, Johnny, it was one of the more polarizing performances from Drew Aller. He made some plays in this game and some throws that looked like a future first-round pick. Like, they were just unbelievable. But the throw he missed to Khalil Dinkins that literally just handed Oregon a touchdown from the 1-yard line in a 1-possession game, you can't overcome that. The second turnover, which I think we're gonna write about, which ended the game, he took a deep shot to Harrison Wallace. And the DB made a nice play, but he kind of forced that when he didn't have to. So I think when Drew looks at this game, he's going to think about, I got to be cleaner, I can be better. But man, he did make some nice throws.
He really did. I mean, that third down throw that he made to Harrison Wallace early, the way he stepped up, avoided a pocket that was collapsing on him to convert, and they ultimately scored a touchdown on that drive was massive. But like you mentioned, the interception, the first one was really bad because it gives Oregon just the ball at the 1-yard line. It's essentially a pick six. For all intents and purposes. And then, Harrison Wallace is the primary read on that final interception, that second interception. But at the same time, I question whether or not Penn State should have been throwing the ball in that scenario when the running game was working so well and there was time left on the clock. But also, if the primary isn't there, you got to go to your next guy. So polarizing performance from Drew Aller. We'll see if he learns from it going ahead towards the college football playoff. That's what a lot of the players were talking about in the post-game interviews with us and in the locker room, is that, in typical years, this kind of game might end your season. And now it's not. They're looking at, home playoff game. Don't know where they're going to be seated. They could be seated 5. That's where I think they should be, 5 or 6. Wouldn't be surprised if they're 7 or 8, but I think they're pretty locked into that home playoff game. And They'll be playing at Beaver Stadium in a few weeks.
This is one more thing. This is what I know. When Penn State gets to the Big Ten title game at this field, Penn State fans, you want to go because there are going to be fireworks. Penn State and Wisconsin, 38-31 in 2016, one of the best Big Ten title games ever. This game approached it if they played cleaner, but there were a lot of points, an exciting time. Penn State kind of really plays very well. They play very hard in the Big Ten title games when they're here. They just didn't play clean enough, and it really bit them against a team that more than likely will be the national champion.
Yeah, and one thing to add on that too, they were down 28-10 in the first half, and they fought back, and were only down 7 at halftime. Get the ball coming out of the half, and
bad possession.
Bad possession, but the fact that they were able to overcome those mistakes early and put themselves in a position where, at 21-10, we were thinking here like this might get out of hand. Like there was an opportunity or a chance at that point that it might have gotten out of hand. It might have been a blowout. And then you're thinking like, okay, how far do they fall down the rankings? The way that they came back and they played tight. And I know it's frustrating, it's heartbreaking the way that it happened for Penn State fans and the players and everyone involved. But I don't know. There are definitely positives to take out of this, I think.
Yeah, it's early Sunday morning. Penn State is the runner-up in the Big Ten title game. Played a gallant game. Made too many mistakes, but we're not done. PennLive's not done. Sunday's a big day. We're going to learn about their playoff seeding, how the whole field looks. We got to get back at some point to Pennsylvania.
Don't know when that's going to be.
We'll cross that bit. Max Ralph is with us, so is Jeremy. We will cross that bridge when we get to it, but we got a busy Sunday coming up on PennLive, a lot to get to. I'm looking forward to seeing where Penn State is in the field. There's going to be some controversy, and who Penn State's going to play in the first round.
SMU should be in.